Expensive vacation fees, parking and bottled water are blocking the way of Vegas's tourism industry. But its consequences not only make the entertainment paradise empty, but also make the working people here pay a high price for what they do not cause. A silent purge is taking place in Vegas, and Caesars Entertainment and MGM Resorts, the two giants who dominated Vegas for decades, were the first two flags to pioneer that wipeout movement. Personnel cuts, area closures, and self-purification to preserve profits have been implemented. But that purification did not stop with them. It spread like a smoldering burn from small casinos to mid-range hotels, burning down the stable lives of thousands of workers. Vegas used to live on easy-to-touch dreams, where anyone could go, spend a few $100s and leave with memories of a glorious night. Now, that dream is slowly shrinking, and it is those behind the scenes who light the lights who will be the first to suffer the consequences. In today's video, we will explore why this purge is not just an economic crisis, but a test of survival fire for the soul of Las Vegas. This is not just a story about collapsed buildings, but about people, about the story of those who have bet their whole lives to keep the lights of Vegas from going out. Las Vegas was once considered America's eternal job machine, where the lights never go out and the work never goes out. More than 386,000 people have lived thanks to tourism, hotels, casinos, and food services, creating a city that operates around the clock. But by 2025, that cycle begins to slow down. The downturn didn't come from Vegas's lack of new games or loss of appeal. On the contrary, the lights are still on. The shows are still going on. But the city chose to raise prices to attract the elite, a group of guests that was shrinking. And when they don't come, the middle class, who used to keep the city vibrant, also leaves in silence. As a result, tourism revenues plummeted, leading to a severe decline in the income of tens of thousands of service workers. A waiter shared that if she could previously earn $150 to $200 per day, now she only has $50 to $60 left, which means losing nearly 70% of her income. However, she is still considered a lucky because she can at least work, while thousands of others have been fired without preparation. When the number of visitors decreased, the revenue of restaurants, hotels, and casinos simultaneously plummeted, forcing many businesses to massively cut staff and even close completely. One of the best examples is North Las Vegas's iconic The Poker Palace casino, which operated for more than half a century. Opened in 1974, this place started with just a small bar and a few slot machines, then gradually expanded into a 25,000 square foot casino, becoming an inseparable memory of the local community. However, at the end of fall 2025, Poker Palace officially closed, causing more than 120 employees to lose their jobs, a sad end for a symbol that has existed through many ups and downs. That collapse is not alone. The chain effect spread quickly to giants on the Strip such as Bellagio, Mirage, Mandalay Bay. Many employees who have been with them for decades are forced to leave the profession or emigrate to another country because they can no longer afford to make ends meet in the United States. The process of change is silent but cruel, with no warning, no farewell. Many people only know they were fired through an automated email, sent right after an 8-hour shift and 2 hours of grueling overtime. When the source of income disappears, many workers have to leave Las Vegas because they cannot continue to pay rent, while paradoxically, the city still organizes spectacular festivals and events to keep the image revived. Under that layer of light, small shops, local restaurants, transportation services, all economic ecospheres dependent on tourism are gradually being suffocated. A store owner said, "Every time a casino cuts staff, a few stores around it close. The whole neighborhood sank along." Labor unions warn that if this spiral continues, the city could completely lose the highly skilled force who once were the pride of the Vegas hotel industry. Many long-time workers call this the silent purge, when Las Vegas stripped itself of the very people who made up its identity. And by the end of the day, this isn't just an economic crisis. It is a social domino effect where dealers, waiters, drivers, chefs, the invisible pillars of the city, are pushed out of the system, causing Vegas to gradually lose the foundations that had maintained prosperity for decades. Caesars Entertainment, whose name was once synonymous with the luxury, power, and history of Las Vegas Strip, is entering its darkest phase since its inception. The group that owns this series of iconic resorts and casinos is falling into a serious recession, with cracks spreading from the stock exchange to the lives of tens of thousands of employees. On September 22, 2025, Caesars was officially removed from the S&P 500 index, losing the prestigious symbol that once guaranteed the group's reputation and financial strength. That event was not only a blow to the image, but also a free fall of faith. When removed from the index, investment funds were forced to sell Caesars shares, dragging the price down further and causing the company to lose the ability to raise new capital. In 2025, Caesars stock lost nearly 30% of its value, and if you count the last 2 years, that number exceeds 50% by a long slide not seen since the pandemic. Behind the Strip's bright lights, Caesars is saddled with a whopping $12.3 billion in debt. Interest rates escalated, cash flow dried up, and successive firefighting decisions were made: sell the World Series of Poker, cede the Link Promenade assets that were once symbols of the golden era. But selling those precious gems only helps the group hold out for a moment, but cannot stop the decline. According to the second quarter 2025 report, Caesars Las Vegas revenue decreased 3.7% year-on-year, equivalent to tens of millions of dollars, evaporating in just a few months. Room occupancy rates are down just 2%, which may sound small, but in Vegas, that means 27,000 room nights are vacant, or more than $4 million in lost revenue in just a few days. That amount of money is enough to pay for a lifetime of housing for 250 people, or support more than 600 families for many years. For people, that is no longer the number in the report. It is unpaid bills. It is short meals. It is a flickering sleep as the payment period approaches. Because when a giant empire shakes, the people who suffer the first blow are always the people at the lowest level. According to 8 News Now, Las Vegas, there are currently more than 72,000 people in Nevada unemployed, of which the majority are concentrated in the Las Vegas, city that lives on tourism. In that spiral, thousands of Caesars workers also had difficulty escaping the influence. They are people who work all night behind the Strip's glory, living on tips and 10-hour shifts. As tourists fewer, tips fade away, shifts are shortened, and financial pressures gradually crush hope. 50,000 people out of work may sound like a dry statistic, but if we imagine that the entire population of Santa Fe, New Mexico, suddenly fell into unemployment and drifted in the middle of the desert, we can see the true extent of the disaster. Many people say the cause came from the tourism recession across the city, but in reality, it was Caesars who contributed to setting himself on fire with an overhand pricing policy and a strategy of distancing himself from reality. Tourists don't leave Vegas because they stop loving it. They leave because they feel taken advantage of. Room, food, and drink prices increased irrationally. Resort fees and parking fees amount to more than $50 night, even at mid-range hotels such as Flamingo, Harrah's, or Horseshoe, which previously only collected about $30. When room rates are added, the total cost causes many people to cancel or shorten their vacation, especially the middle class, group of guests who were once the backbone of Las Vegas. Vegas, once known as value destination, where everyone felt worth the money spent, has now become a symbol of expensiveness and fatigue. Although Caesars has launched a series of promotions and incentives to save the situation, from room discounts, meal giveaways, participating in the fabulous 5-day sale event, those short-term sales are not enough to fill the gap in trust. Residents and visitors start bored with Vegas, claiming that city squeezes out pockets at every stage, from parking spaces to drinking water bottles. Many people say, frankly, that Vegas is no longer fun, is only expensive, and when trust is lost, no promotion can be redeemed. Caesars Entertainment. The legendary that once represented the Empire of Dreams is now on the brink of losing its leading position. The lights on the facade were still on, but inside, the management basements were filled with debt, Employees were exhausted, and trust was leaving the building once considered the soul of the Strip. And bitterly, the most expensive price of this crisis lies not in the financial statements, but on the shoulders of the ordinary workers who contributed to the Vegas miracle, now burned by the same legend, burned in thirst for profit. On the glowing Strip, MGM has always been considered the giant that keeps the beat for Las Vegas. But by 2025, that name that once represented prosperity and luxury is becoming the epicenter of a silent earthquake. And when MGM shook, it wasn't just one business that shook, the whole city of Vegas shook along. MGM owns more than a third of all hotel rooms on the Strip. That means, as long as this corporation reduces the pace of operations, Vegas's entire hotel entertainment tourism ecosystem will suffer knock-on effects. In recent months, MGM Resorts International, the city's largest employer, has cut a series of staff, both at the management level and in frontline positions. In July 2025 alone, the company confirmed that more than 500 employees were laid off, not to mention 100 part-time positions that have been quietly eliminated since the spring. The people affected are not directors or senior managers, but the people who make up the soul of the Vegas experience: receptionists, housekeepers, concierges, security guards, waiters, who smile first when guests arrive and are the last to turn off the lights every night. Many employees said they were asked to work overtime to make up for the shortage of people, but did not receive a raise or bonus, causing widespread burnout. A longtime employee confided, "After 25 years working here, I no longer feel like I belong here." That austerity quickly showed its dark side. Some MGM casinos close in the middle of the week, reducing operating hours, cutting buffets and valet services. In the Mirage parking lot, the lights go out early after 10 p.m., a small detail, but for Vegas residents, it is a symbol of the fading of light they were once proud of. Internal MGM describes these changes as a comprehensive restructuring to keep profit margins. But for workers, it's just soft talk for cutting people. Those who remain must shoulder more work and do more for the same salary. And as the city's middle-class workforce began to collapse, the entire Vegas economic structure tilted along. From the outside, Vegas is still bright. LED panels still shine into the metallic sky. But inside, another silence is spreading. The silence of thousands of employees is replaced by the term efficiency. If Caesars is a self-immolation legend, then MGM is a giant that mutilates its own body to survive. After each restructuring, how many people are actually allowed to exist in this Vegas dream? For many Americans, Las Vegas used to be a destination of joy, of short, exciting holidays where anyone could try their luck and bring back some sparkling memories. But entering 2025, the name "the city that never sleeps" is making those who once loved it sick. Visitors describe Vegas as now expensive and spacious, a place where the lights are still on, but the hospitality and excitement are off. According to travel reports and real feedback from hundreds of visitors, hotel room rates rose sharply while the experience declined significantly. Resort fees, room taxes, and a series of service surcharges make a 3-night stay a price of 35 to 50% more than the original listed price. What used to feature the accessible luxury has now turned into a problem that makes visitors hesitant. Resort, parking, and drinks fees at the bar alone can be enough to pay for a room at a 4-star hotel in other cities. Middle class, most stable spending clientele, is gradually leaving Vegas. They choose alternative destinations like Phoenix or Reno, where reasonable prices and a sense of welcome still exist. As a result, midweek revenue for hotels decreased sharply, causing a series of waiters, bartenders, and housekeeping staff to lose their already fragile source of income. The Vegas trap is not part of the gamble. It lies in the very operating model that turns every experience into a revenue. As every water bottle, every parking lot, every minute of rest is racked, the city has lost what makes it so special: feeling of freedom. After Caesars and MGM took turns cutting staff, experts described a new phenomenon spreading throughout the Strip: domino effect. when each large corporation wobbles, leading to a series of other names shaking together. Vegas, which once boasted a sustainable ecosystem of tourism and entertainment, is now like a row of chess pieces pouring in a chain reaction. Wynn Resorts, a symbol of luxury and premium experiences, reported a 14% drop in revenue in the latest quarter, its deepest decline since the pandemic. Meanwhile, Venetian, currently owned by investment group Apollo Global Management, is facing more than $3 billion in bond debt coming due, putting heavy financial pressure on daily operations. Behind those huge numbers are thousands of employees who now have to live in insecurity, not knowing whether their names will be on the next cut list. In fact, many signs of personnel restructuring have quietly taken place. Some employees reported that long-term contracts were replaced by short-term contracts, bonus policies were suspended, and new hires were almost frozen. Investors pressure management to reduce labor costs to levels that compete with the international travel industry is a phrase that sounds professional, but for workers, it simply means having to do more with fewer people. Third wave, no press conference, no official numbers, no goodbye. There were only rows of empty chairs in the shift room, shortened shift boards, and hidden looks among those who remained. If Caesars is the beginning, MGM is the climax, then Wynn and Venetian are the reverb where the Purge becomes quieter, more sophisticated and cold than ever. Vegas was once built by humans, but in this domino effect, it seems that humans become the first piece to be pushed down. If in the past, Las Vegas used to be the only mecca for those who wanted to try their luck, now that casino is fitting in everyone's pocket. With just a few screen touches, millions of bets can take place right at home, without neon lights, without airline tickets, without Vegas. In recent transcripts, many experts warn about the rise of iGaming and mobile betting, platforms that are slowly swallowing visitors to the Strip. According to internal reports, traffic to online betting apps increased by more than 25% in the first half of 2025 alone, and as a direct result, bookings at traditional casinos dropped significantly. What used to be Vegas' unique advantage is its ability to deliver a real playing experience with emotions, lights and cheers is now being replaced by a silent swipe of the hand. An MGM marketing manager admitted, "We no longer sell airline tickets, we are competing with phone screens." That joke, that's true, accurately reflects the crisis deep within the Vegas entertainment, tourism industry. They are no longer up against another city, but with technology. To regain attention, large corporations pour hundreds of millions of dollars into music festivals, sporting events, shows, and lavish experiences to attract visitors back. But the paradox is that the cost of running those events is so high that the profit margin is getting thinner and thinner, while the new arrivals are not enough to compensate for the traditional arrivals that have left. And it's not just tourists who have lost, technology that is silently replacing humans. As the process of booking, betting, paying, and supporting customers is gradually taken over by AI and automation, a series of positions such as cashier, slot machine technician, and customer support staff are cut. Areas that used to be bustling with human sounds now only have the light of screens and the sound of machines. Because in an era where casinos can be in your pocket, Vegas is no longer a destination, but just a symbol. And when that symbol is replaced by convenience and speed, does anyone need to go to Vegas to feel lucky anymore? Not all debt is on the balance sheet. For Las Vegas, the biggest debt today is not measured in coins, but in beliefs, memories, and people. From 2024 to 2025, according to data in internal reports, Las Vegas lost more than 4,300 jobs in just 1 month. A figure that seemed temporary, but actually started a long series of recessions. After layoffs, hundreds of people had to leave the city, live temporarily in cars, parking lots or mobile homes, or move to cheaper states like Arizona or Utah to find new opportunities. Many people who have been with Vegas for 20-30 years admit that they no longer feel like they belong here. The outside of the casinos is still brightly lit, but just a few blocks away, you will see the buildings around the Strip gradually empty. Shops closed. For lease boards sprang up on the once bustling streets. Schools were short of students because families left. Vegas, a city once built on a dream of stability, is facing a smoldering chain effect. As work disappears, so does the community. Particularly traumatized is the year-old group of older workers who are aged 55 to 65, who have been a mainstay of the Vegas service industry for decades. Now, it is almost impossible for them to find new jobs, considered too old for the modern service industry. Some try to manage with part-time work, but their health, age, and rising cost of living keep them from staying long. Labor unions have spoken out, calling on the Nevada state government to establish a fund to support vocational retraining, expand health insurance and benefits for those who lose their jobs. But even campaigners admit those policies are unlikely to compensate for the mental losses and professional memories that have been taken away. Because behind every job loser is part of the city's heritage: the waiter who once remembered the names of patrons, the housekeeper who lit the lights for millions of visitors, the taxi driver who once told the story of the Vegas dream. Now, they leave, taking with them the most precious thing Las Vegas has ever had: a real human smile. And perhaps that is the biggest debt Vegas is saddled with, not on the financial books, but imprinted in the memories of those who believed that this place was a land of opportunity, not a temporary destination of a dying dream. Las Vegas still sparkles as if nothing has changed. LED panels still race to light up the desert sky. Casinos remain open all night, and music still echoes among the magnificent boulevards. But if you listen carefully, behind that brilliant shell is the sound of the footsteps leaving, of the people who once created the soul of this city. Vegas was once built on hope and labor, but now lives on illusion and debt. That silent purge took place not with hammers and swords, but with layoff emails, unpaid bills, and tired smiles behind the counter. Perhaps the light is still there, but the lighted person is not. If the city of the American dream now had to fire its own dream, who would that dream still have room for? If you feel this story is worth pondering, click like, share this video, and subscribe to the channel to join me in delving deeper into the hidden corners of America, where the light is still bright, but the darkness has never gone out. The content in this video is built on reports, public material, and sharing noted in actual news reports, and transcripts. All figures, citations, and analyses are presented with the aim of informing and exploring the social phenomenon, not with a view to attributing responsibility or accusing any individual, organization, or enterprise. The video reflects an independent perspective aimed at evoking interest and dialogue about the social-economic upheavals taking place in Las Vegas and the United States in general. All statements in the video are analytical, reflective, and emotional, and do not represent any body, organization, or political opinion. Viewers are encouraged to learn, collate, and form their own perspectives, as the ultimate goal of the channel is not to conclude, but to ask questions.